What's going on, you guys? TBR here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another King of Fighters All-Star video. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the brand spanking new PC client for the global version of the game. Now, this thing is in a beta phase. However, it is pretty darn awesome, as you guys are going to see in today's video. I'm also going to show you guys briefly how to get this thing set up and give you a few troubleshooting tips as well. So there's plenty for us to talk about in today's video. But before we get into all of that and more, make sure if you guys haven't already done so and you enjoy daily King of Fighters All-Star content such as this, you smash that like button and subscribe. And without further ado, you already know what time it is. Cue the intro. Alright, you guys, so the first thing I want to go ahead and talk about is going to be setup. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to want to pull up this forum post from StevenYoo over on the official forums. I will have a link to this in the description. So the first thing you're going to want to pay attention to here is you're going to want to make sure that you take note of this right here. So right now, this PC beta is only available for Windows operating systems. This is a very important thing for those of you out there that aren't on Windows to note. So if you are not on a Windows operating system, right now, the beta version of this PC client is not compatible with your PC, more than likely. So that is something you're going to want to take note of before you go ahead and try to set this up. In general, I would highly recommend that everybody read through this forum post before trying to set this up. I know a lot of people have been having issues and have been asking me to help them troubleshoot. However, I've noticed that 9 times out of 10, with a couple of outliers that are going to be separate from this, that a lot of people just need to read the forum post and they'll do just fine. So the first thing you're going to need to make sure is that you know that this is only available on Windows. The next thing that you're going to want to take note of is that the minimum system requirements for this game are all going to be listed right here. Now, luckily, because this is a port for a mobile game, it isn't going to be too intensive and need that much specs in order to be running properly. So as long as you guys are going to be able to meet these minimum system requirements, you're going to be just fine. However, you need to make sure that you're paying attention to this right here, so that way you can ensure that this thing is going to run smoothly. Now, with all of that being said, if you meet all these requirements, there is going to be one major step that you're going to need to take before you can do anything, and that is going to be how you log in with your account. Now, when it comes to linking an account, I've noticed that a lot of people have been getting confused on this, and I want to go ahead and try to clear this up. So you're going to see here, it's going to tell you that you need to link the account on the PC beta version. You'll need to link your mobile account to an email address first to protect your game data. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to pull out your phone, right? You're going to need to pull out your phone and you need to go into the game and you're going to need to pull it up, and I'll show you guys using the emulator here. You're going to need to be on this screen here. Now, this screen here is available right here in your settings. So if you go into link account, you need to click on this red box and you need to connect an email. The Google Play one is not what you want, and I noticed that a lot of people have been getting that mixed up. It's this red box right here that you are going to need to have linked to your account via your mobile device. You cannot link this through the actual PC client. It's going to have to be done through your mobile device. So keep that in mind. If you need to set an account up and you need to do all that, do that through your mobile device, connect it via your game through the method I just showed you. You just go in here, then you go over here to link account, click on the red box and set it up. As long as you meet all the requirements and you're doing everything correctly, once you've gotten that done, you can go ahead, you can download the PC client, and then when it prompts you to log in, you'll want to log in using the credentials that you plugged into this red box to set this up, and then it should pull up your game so long as you linked everything correctly. So those are going to be the steps that you're going to need to take in order to properly get this installed. If you have any further issues, and I know some people have, if you're outside of the US, using a VPN can be very beneficial, and setting it to being in the United states is what you would want to do at that point. And then if you do that, and if you've been having any issues getting this thing to run, that might end up saving you there. So kind of keep that in mind. There's plenty of VPNs out there and plenty of services that provide VPNs out there. So you'll just want to kind of shop around and look around. There's even free ones out there that you can get. However, some of those aren't as good. So kind of keep that in mind. But that's pretty much what you guys are looking at there. Once you've done all that, everything should be set up. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of Mumu Player, because we don't need that anymore. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump into the beta version for the PC client, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about mapping your controllers, settings, and all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, you guys, so here we are inside the official PC beta client. Now, as you can see, everything is up and running smoothly. However, whenever you open this thing up for the first time, I know that several people have pointed out that the first time they open up the client, that they have a little bit of issues with resolution, buttons being all over the screen, and kind of that sort of thing. If that is the case the first time that you open this up, just go ahead and close it out and reopen it, and that should solve that problem. Speaking of opening this thing up, for those of you who are questioning how to get it full screen, because at default, whenever you open this up, it is not full screen, and it isn't necessarily completely apparent to some people how to do this. You would just go ahead and hit F11 or Alt Enter, and that should go ahead and full screen your game for you. So with that being said, the first time you open up the game, the next thing you're going to want to take a look at is in your settings. You're going to want to go to key setup, right? Because you want to go ahead and do your key bindings. Now, this is going to differ from person to person depending on what peripheral you prefer. If you're somebody that prefers a keyboard, then you're going to want to go to keyboard. If you're somebody that has a controller like myself, I'm using this guy here, then you're going to want to go ahead and map your buttons to that through this drop down right here. Once you've gone ahead and mapped those, you want to hit save, and you'll be in good shape. Now, one thing you want to pay attention to here, as you go through here, the way that you would do this, as you can see, I've got mine all kind of set up here. You're going to want to just click on whichever command you're wanting to update or change, and you're just going to go ahead and click on it, and then it'll say, please enter the shortcut key to continue, and all you got to do is press whichever button you want to be corresponding to that command on whatever peripheral you're using. So with that being said, I've already got all mine set up, so I don't need to do that here. But if you do have a peripheral, that is where you're going to go ahead and set up your key bindings. And I highly recommend that you do that, because it is going to change your life when it comes to this game. Not in real life. If it changes your real life, then that'd just be weird. But with that being said, that is going to be the setup. Pretty easy stuff, pretty straightforward. If you're having additional issues, my recommendation to you is go ahead and contact Netmarble. Typically, their customer service is pretty decent when it comes to responding. So now, when it comes to my first impressions with this PC client, so far, and you guys know I've been running Mumu Player to play the game on an emulator on my computer, and it is varying shades of crap. This here has been 100% better, and it's only been 24 hours. I've had 0 crashes, I've had no slowdowns, I've had no issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys a little bit of gameplay here. Now, what's going to be kind of funny about this is I'm basically feeling like I'm relearning the game by doing this stuff on a controller, because we're talking about 3 years, I guess, at this point, of muscle memory for me playing this game. So trying to relearn everything has been quite interesting. But I figure what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll go into Time Attack here, pick up the old controller. We're going to be using that, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit of gameplay just so you can kind of get an idea of how smooth this thing runs, because it is pretty darn cool. So as you guys are going to see, you'll see no frame drops, no kind of slowdowns, no slow-mo bugs, which, you know, that's apt to be a problem when you're talking about playing on a mobile device. But as far as on this PC port, I've had no slow-mo bugs. In fact, yesterday, I was wanting to go ahead and test, because forever now I've been wondering how much more damage I could be doing if I were running without slow-mo bugs. And to give you guys one example, I went into the new guild dungeon, and I was able to go in and have over 200 million more damage added onto my score than my normal on my phone, just playing on this PC port, which is pretty darn crazy when you consider the fact that really I'm doing the exact same things. I'm just playing on the PC version instead of playing on my phone. And that should give you guys a pretty good idea of how much of a difference that slow-mo bug does make when it comes to this stuff. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we're going to try and get him. So right there, I forgot my key binding. Oh God. Okay. For a second there, I forgot which one was awakening. So, okay, we're good. And that's going to be the thing for a lot of people, I get the feeling. If you're somebody that's already been playing on a PC and you've already been playing with your keyboard, there shouldn't be much of a change. But if you're somebody that's going to be playing on a controller or a joystick, because they did say that joysticks were available as well, then you're going to need to go ahead and you're going to need to kind of pay attention to your inputs at the beginning, because like I said, you're going to be trying to make up for years worth of muscle memory, and that can be a bit of a problem. So I know for a lot of people out there, this has been like kind of relearning how to ride a bike. So they say that riding a bike is simple once you've learned it, but yeah, it's not necessarily with this game. So, but at the same time, it is a whole lot of fun doing it with the controller because it pretty much changes everything. Now, of course, right now, everything for me is probably going to require me to take a lot of time to get used to, but at the same time, like I had already mentioned with that guild dungeon, I've already noticed major gains there, so I get the feeling once I do get used to this, that I am going to be pretty darn happy overall with this thing. And I'm already really happy with it. Like I said, I haven't had any crashes or any slowdowns, so that is definitely going to be a positive, especially when you consider the fact that this is in a beta phase right now. So this is definitely something that could have been in a lot worse position than it is right now. But so far, everything seems like it's running really smoothly. So I'm really happy to say that because I was kind of thinking that this was going to be a mess at launch, especially considering the fact that it is a beta. But at the same time, I've had very few issues whatsoever. Now, one big thing that you're going to want to pay attention to right now is you cannot do your ads via the PC version of the game. So that is one thing that some people are going to need to pay attention to and might find a bit off-putting, because they do mention that as something that is known by Netmarble. It is something that is intended. It isn't necessarily a bug or anything like that. So keep that in mind. They are aware that you cannot use ads in the PC version right now. So just kind of put that in the back of your cap there and take that for what you will. So there are going to be kind of fine differences there, but there aren't anything that's going to be too crazy. So as you guys can see, everything has been running really smooth. About the only thing that hasn't been running smoothly is my key inputs and my timing, but hey, like I said, I will get used to it. But it gives you guys at least an idea of what you're looking at with this thing, because overall, everything is running really smooth as long as you meet the minimum system requirements. I believe that should KO, right? I'm putting the controller down. Okay, so pretty much that's what you're looking at there, and that was all using an Xbox One controller there. So I think we got our SS for the day. Yeah, so that's pretty much what you're looking at there. So again, no slowdowns, no issues there. Everything ran really smoothly and we had no issues. Now, one thing that I will tell you guys, and I don't know if this is just my setup, but this is one thing I noticed, and again, this is just my first impression, so this is me just kind of shooting from the hip here. When it comes to scrolling through menus, it doesn't feel the greatest. You know, I can't necessarily use my mouse wheel from what I've noticed, and when it comes to scrolling through these things, yeah, I'm not a big fan of how you have to kind of click on this and then you have to kind of scroll that way on your menus and things. I believe it's that way in all the menus. So that is one thing that I'm not a giant fan of, and I hope that kind of changes. Like you guys can see here, I'm having trouble even getting this thing to kind of scroll at all. So that is one thing you'll want to kind of pay attention to. I mean, that is one little thing that I did notice, but outside of that, everything else seems to be running pretty well as far as the actual gameplay is concerned. And again, this is a beta, so we can't expect this thing to be perfect. However, right out of the box so far, I would say that this thing is a godsend for those of us that have the ability to play on a PC, especially for me as a YouTuber trying to give you guys content. This is going to improve my content, not just from my graphics standpoint, but it's also going to improve my content as far as my overall performance. Like I said, in that guild dungeon yesterday, I can probably even show you guys in the rankings just to kind of give you a visual. So for those of you who've been paying attention to the channel, if you go here, I believe I can show you guys here. Yeah, so those of you who've been paying attention to the channel, you would have known that I'm usually hovering around 988. That's kind of my number here in Guild Dungeon with this exact team. And in order to test this yesterday, I wanted to use the same team I've been using because I had a good baseline to go from there. And this is what I scored yesterday consistently over the course of about a half hour of replaying this. This is what I was scoring consistently. So my damage gains using the exact same team, just the difference being that I'm playing using the controller on this PC client versus my phone are huge. So this is something that is going to improve your numbers. Chances are, if you were dealing with things like the slow-mo bugs and all that sort of stuff, this is going to help you out in a huge way. So that's only going to improve content here on the channel as well. So in general, you guys, I'm really happy with this thing so far. You know, I've only had 24 hours to tinker around with it and play with it. So what I would like to do is get a few more days under my belt of playing around with the different settings and kind of going through all the different game modes and seeing how everything runs on an individual basis. But thus far, I have had very few issues. Like I said, the only major issue that I've necessarily noticed so far has been the menus. So overall, you guys, those are kind of my first initial impressions of the first 24 hours with this PC beta. Right now, I think it's in a really good spot. I think that there are still definitely things they need to improve on. However, as far as being in a beta form, this thing is running really smooth. So let me know your opinions in the comment section down below, you guys. I know some people have still been having issues getting this thing set up. Hopefully that introduction helped you in that regard. If it did, I'm glad that I was able to help. If not, and you have further issues and a VPN or anything like that doesn't help you, then like I said, what you would want to do is go ahead and contact Netmarble customer support, and hopefully they can help you guys out. So with all that being said, you guys, that's going to be today's video. I hope you found it informative. If you did, smash that like button and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section down below how you're enjoying the PC client, and I will talk to you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.
Continue.